we have Building Atlas, and we have Nick Taylor, who's a co-founder. This platform enables building asset owners with large portfolios to find the best path to decarbonising them. Hi, Nick. I can see your presentation.
Thanks, Jenny. Hello. Yes, just arriving. You can hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Good. Cool. So I'm Nick. I'm one of the co-founders of Building Atlas. And as Jenny says, our focus is on helping organizations decarbonize buildings at scale. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how. So we're a group of optimists. We're a small team. We believe that humanity's going to solve climate change. And that whilst buildings cause 40% of emissions, there's a lot of work to be done, and we think can be done to make that better. Replacing all of the buildings that have already been built around the world just isn't feasible. And so if you're the owner of a building, you need to upgrade it and do that fast. And that's not happening anywhere near as fast as it could. So imagine you're the owner of a portfolio of buildings. Your customers, your tenants are wanting greener, nicer, better buildings. Even more so since COVID, we all understand the challenges of return to work, and the environmental performance of buildings is critical there too. Meanwhile, regulators are ratcheting up their energy efficiency requirements, progressively tighter and tighter standards on the amount of energy that buildings should use. So if you're one of those portfolio owners, you're looking for expertise, you're trying to find expert help, but surveyors are in short supply, and it'll take years to get around all of the buildings to do that manually. And even then, those surveyors will only give building by building views, not across your whole portfolio. So there's a real risk of losing value, either by doing nothing or by doing the wrong thing, by investing in the wrong measures that don't result in savings, that don't maintain the value of a building. So what are we doing? We're building a platform a platform and an ecosystem to scale those retrofits across buildings. So we're different from those traditional ways of doing these things manually. We're a zero-touch platform. All you need to do as a portfolio owner is give us the addresses of buildings. We use public and private data sets and machine learning to build effectively the Google of buildings, a real kind of big data set that analyzes buildings, that understands the optimal retrofits across a portfolio. But we're not just a dashboard. We know you can increase value by doing the right things to a building. So we need to build an actionable end-to-end plan with financing and delivery partners to actually make those retrofits happen, the right projects for the right buildings across a portfolio. So whilst there's a massive risk to loss of value in buildings, we think the opportunity here is huge. There are, all of these buildings, in essence, almost every building that exists today will need some level of retrofit to get to net zero by 2050. We've been speaking to lots of potential customers and partners, and we believe we have a clear path to 30 million in annual revenue over the next couple of years, growing to 150 million over the next 5 years as we broaden our feature set and scale out across the market. This is really just scratching the surface. We are conservatively looking at taking a small proportion of the market for scoping and modeling retrofits. But as you can see, there are 10 million commercial buildings in the US, UK, and the EU, all of which need this analysis done. So who are we as a team? Myself and Olga, co-founders from Google, and we've designed, built, and sold Google scale technology products. And our third founder, who's joining us soon, has deep expertise in energy modeling, both at the city scale and the building scale, and also has lots of relationships with asset owners to help us get started. All three of us are climate people, and we chose this problem as a critical problem to solve. So our main goal for the coming year is to confirm our product market fit, work with some of those customers that we've been talking to as pilot customers to really build out the model, refine our data, and to start to scale. And we expect to hit meaningful revenue at some point in 2024. So we are applying for a bunch of grants, UK and EU funding, but also looking for angel funding to go alongside that to help us hire some people and get started. Any questions?
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nick. Yes, we have a question that's come through. Let me see. Okay, from Brendan. Are all buildings able to be retrofitted? For instance, older period buildings. Are the costs to retrofit such period buildings economical?
I'll take the question. Hi, I'm Olga, Nick's co-founder. Great question. So in general, yes, all the buildings can be retrofitted. Of course, there are heritage protection regulations that differ by locality, but the question of cost is very, very important. And when you think about which building to retrofit, it's actually not just it's not just a building physics decision, it's also the decision about commercial potential of this building. So if it is a heritage, wonderful, protected building somewhere in central London, and you can use it as a retail location, for instance, yes, go ahead and retrofit it, even if it's going to cost you more, because the value uplift of that retrofit is going to be substantial, and you're basically getting your money back just because your asset becomes more expensive. If it is, an old movie theater somewhere on the seaside in Manchester, so I don't actually know UK geography very well, but there are just some buildings that don't have a huge amount of value, whether they're retrofitted or not retrofitted. And this is exactly what we're helping portfolio owners to figure out: which buildings to start with and what are the right measures, the most cost-effective measures that are going to bring you the most value and allow you to put more dollars and pounds into this green transition.
Fantastic. And there's a lot of prompts from councils, etc., to get, retrofits for these rented out accommodations, etc. There's a lot of push in this direction. So yeah, it looks like definitely something that's going to be needed and something to invest in. We've got Ben Knott asking a question. There's a very large number of companies in this space. There is indeed. My father did this in the 70s. I used to run one of them. He says, how different are you? What makes you stand out?
Yeah. Ben, would love to talk to you, absolutely, and learn from your experience. So we did a deep dive into this market, and what we see is that there's a large group of companies that focuses on residential real estate, and we just don't want to touch residential in the near future because there's never return on investment. You can install a heat pump for £30,000 and it's going to take you 300 years to get your money back because there's no value uplift in the building. There are fewer companies that focus on commercial, but there are still some. A lot of these companies basically are born from consultancies. So they're building a tech solution on top of a consulting workflow where it becomes a little bit easier to do these one-to-one assessments of the buildings. It just doesn't scale, right? If it takes a day or half a day or an hour to assess each building and you have 10 million buildings, it doesn't scale. So we're taking a completely top-down, zero-touch approach where we're just using big data. And of course, if portfolios are able to provide us more data, then that's great. But we should be able to give them answers with just the address. And the second differentiating point, there are quite a number of companies that do ESG reporting for the building industry, so Deep Key, Measurable, and so on. They're great. They have a reason to exist, but they're dashboards, right? That's what we've learned in our Area 120 sustainability work. You can't just give people more data. You need to actually tell them what to do and walk them to the solution. And that's why we want to also provide preferential financing that is based on this value uplift and connect them with preferred partners to actually do the work. Because there's no time for dashboards. We need to actually get all these buildings retrofitted.
Fantastic. And I suppose that explains or answers the next question, which was from Virginie, but it's not just landlords you're after. This is bigger, scalable solutions that you're providing. So it's not just the drones, etc. It's a bigger deal.
Yeah, it's actually a great question. So we're still doing a huge amount of market discovery, doing user interviews almost multiples every week. We realized that there are a couple really big portfolio owners or large companies that have thousands of buildings, and they work with the companies like CBRE and JLL. It's like the McKinsey of real estate. They have in-house sustainability teams, so they usually don't need our help. If you're a mid-level landlord and you have 100 different buildings or 500 different buildings, or maybe even 30 different buildings, it's too many already to assess manually. It's too many to model in an Excel spreadsheet, but it's too few for JLL to pick up the phone when you call. And this is where this lack of expertise is really coming in. We did some calculation, basically back of the napkin calculation, how long it would take to do the assessments of all these buildings if we do it with the current method. So go into a building and trying to figure out what it's made out of and so on. We need like 28,000 years, right?
Yeah.
Not enough time. Speed and scale. I'm in a hurry.
Fantastic. Okay, so we have a sweet spot for people to invest in. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Really awesome to see us working in the climate tech environment. We'll put you in touch with people who are interested. Thank you.